Hey everybody, welcome back to Backlog Crew. This is part two of our Metal Gear Solid um, book club, game club type discussion. I didn't do the introduction last time and I got flack for it. So I'm here with Ryder and I'm here with John. And we're going to talk about everything that happens from the moment you enter the Nuclear Warhead Storage Facility to the moment that you enter the communications tower. So let's get started. So the section starts off with Snake entering the nuclear warhead storage facility. He's looking for Hal Emmerich, the engineer who's supposedly knows how to destroy Metal Gear Rex because he helped build it. And he gets a call saying that he has to sneak through without using any of his weapons because there are defunct nuclear missiles just laying around. What do you guys do for this part?
I stuck around.
Yeah. Nobody had any trouble right here. It was pretty straightforward.
I think I got no. Okay, I didn't have my first death till a little bit later. I want to say I got caught pretty soon after I got in this area, but thankfully I was just able to choke out Homeboy and
Mhm.
just moved on. I don't really remember there being endless waves of enemies here. There might have been, but I didn't really encounter that. So I pretty much choked out the first guy and went about my business, and it was pretty straightforward.
And then once we got to the elevator, we could either go to basement floor 1 or basement floor 2. Where I think basement floor 2 was like where we were supposed to go. Is that a cat? Hello, cat.
He keeps on knocking my camera around, so he's going to be on camera now.
That's fine. Cats are
Go
amazing.
get.
So I stopped by basement floor 1 first on the way down just because I wanted to. And I immediately went into the bathroom because I saw a guard there. And it's incredibly easy to just choke guards out while they're standing at the urinals. But then the problem came was when another guard came in to use the bathroom, and I had to hide in one of the stalls. And then they started using the urinal as well, and then I was able to sneak behind them. I don't know. I thought it was a really cool touch that like the
Mhm.
guards actually like interrupt their like routes to like do human things. You know?
Mhm.
Yeah, so something I figured out, I did learn how to incapacitate the enemies in on that floor. So I learned that if you incapacitate the enemies in front of that urinal, they drop items. So
Is
every
that the
now and
only?
again, I would get it.
Sorry, is that the only time they drop items? Because they
That's
do
the
drop
only time
items.
that, well, that's the only time I've ever incapacitated
See,
any and figured
John
it
has
out.
been
So
choking out people, so
Correlation equals causation. That's right.
exactly. So
John's been running around with no ammo, no rations, and he's like, "Man, this
I've
game's
not had a
hard."
problem. I've not had a problem with items, but I didn't know you could do that until I was playing earlier this week. And let's just say those rations did help out. I was low on them, but I had one or two. But it's always nice to have max whenever you go into these boss battles. So, but I did enjoy that mechanic for sure. The fact that you could incapacitate in that way, and seeing the guards take routes and go use the bathroom, that was a pretty clever touch.
Yeah, it's just like a silly little thing that real guards would do and that video games never worry about is people going to the bathroom. Um,
And it's something we'll
but
probably talk about a little bit later as well. But it's interesting that there's a male and female bathroom, and
mhm.
it showed the doors for both. I walked into the male bathroom first because I saw a guard in there. I choked him out while he was being at the urinal, and then tried to go to the female bathroom, and I hit the door, and I was like, oh, I don't have my key card out. I took out my key card and it wouldn't let me go in, and I was like, this ain't supposed to happen. And so I went to first person view and looked to see what the door said. It said female, and I was
Oh
like,
yeah,
okay, so I can't go into the female bathroom apparently,
yeah.
which is a nice
The
little
salts in
detail.
your skin that create electromagnetic fields that open doors for you must have given away that you weren't a woman. I think that's probably how they would explain it in Metal Gear.
I think so, which is, I mean, of course it's goofy, but I did like the fact that there's a distinction there.
Yeah, yeah, that is a cool touch. Then we made our way down into the room that's filled with poisonous gas and an electrified floor, which we find out thanks to another call from our good friend Deep Throat. And we get to test out the new Nikita missiles. Those things. So basically, you shoot a missile, and then instead of controlling Snake, you just control the 4 directions that the missile's moving in after you fire it. Those things control surprisingly well, but the camera angle on them is awful because it doesn't center on the missile. It just, if the missile touches like the edge of the frame, then the frame starts moving. So you have no idea like what's in front of you.
Yeah.
And that was like, it was wild. I used like 6 missiles probably trying to blow up the generator to get the floors to stop it. Am I the only one that was struggling with that?
Only 6.
I gotta say that was actually my favorite part of part 2.
Oh, really?
Was
Really?
doing that. Yeah, for sure. So I learned that if you click up and down really quick, the missile will do a little circle and it'll slow down really, really slow. And so if you just back and forth it a lot, left, right, up and down, you can maneuver that missile exactly where you want it. And then you can let it shoot in a direction for a second, and then you can go left, right again to dodge the cameras in the area. And then you can get it in there pretty easy. I don't want to talk about how many missiles it took me to figure that out, but I did enjoy that mechanic, and I was very surprised that mechanic was even in there. So it was pretty interesting.
You talk about like outmaneuvering the cameras with like the turrets on them, and I just spent all my missiles lining up the angle just perfectly, so it would just like shoot forward as fast as possible, so it would naturally get shot.
So one thing I did have an issue with is whenever you get the missile all the way to the end of the hallway and then you go left with it, the floor changes, but the room doesn't change. And so when the floor changed, that's when I wanted to turn the missile. However, the floor would change in this little bitty spot, and then the room would change. And so I kept clicking too early and blowing up missiles on the wall before it even got to the rooms with the cameras. But after I got used to the floor, just changing on its own without it showing you that it was a different room, it was a lot easier for me. So I did enjoy that mechanic though overall.
I dig the Nikita missiles. Go ahead, Ryder.
Yeah, I was say this is. So I played this whole section in one sitting. It took me 4.5 hours, maybe a little bit more, but that's just what the game is logged, is about 4.5 hours. And that was the first time that I almost rage quit during that 4.5 hour block using the missiles.
Wait a minute.
Because I just got so annoyed with the controls specifically.
And
that's
the
when
D-pad or the control stick?
I'm using the actual control stick.
Yeah.
So
I used the
feel like if I was
D-pad.
using
It
the
made it a
D-pad,
little
would have been a little bit easier. See, I didn't have that mapped, so I was just using the analog stick, and I'm sure the original PS1 game could be played like that as well. If you had a DualShock at that point. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But it was just it was kind of hard to control, and I'm a hoarder with pretty much everything that I play, and so whether it be ammunition or medicine, potions, depending on the game. So I wouldn't let myself lose more than 2 missiles in a row without being like, nope, that's it. And then I just kill myself because I needed to have as close to as full ammo as I could. And so it's funny because like story decisions, I'm like, nope, if I make this decision and like it just backfires, I'm stuck with it. Can't redo it. But like ammo, whatnot, now I'm going to keep redoing it because I might need that ammo. And the only reason why is because I like almost bricked myself last session where I thought I bricked myself where I didn't have any rations and just kept on dying to the same boss over and over because I had this much health. And so I didn't want to get in a situation like that where I needed those. And I doubt the game would, keep me from progressing, but I didn't have missiles, but still. But anyways, I had trouble controlling it was the biggest thing. And the time that I almost rage quit, I got like right before your target, and I like shifted just slightly on the analog stick and bumped the wall, and it blew up the missile. And at that point I was like, and I killed myself and then did it again, and I got it the next time, thankfully. But that was my first almost rage quit. I have like 4 others that I'll talk about later, I'm sure.
We'll get there in due time.
I was very surprised that you said that was your worst part of this part 2, because that was my favorite. However, I I do want to point out, I'm not going to jump ahead or anything. I did nearly want to throw my controller at one point.
Tell us all about
I've-
it when we get there.
And I've never done that before, but it was not at that point. So I was just very surprised that that was the part you didn't like.
I had
Well-
multiple near rage quits. So
Yeah, maybe we'll get into those at this next part. So we clear that room. We head to this hallway. We find a whole bunch of guards that have just been straight up murdered, as Snake says, by some kind of blade, uh, which is just, I don't know. That seems like a really obtuse way to say sword. I don't know. Anyway, we turn the corner.
It's funny is that so. I guess it's just because the graphics wouldn't allow for people maybe to know what it is. Maybe people are just really dense, or children are playing the game, so they have to over explain.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, dude, I mean, half an hour ago you saw a ninja cut off some dude's hand, and you're like,
Right.
some
who
sort
did
of
this?
blade. Yeah, it's like, what? I mean, you kind of
Yeah,
know.
exactly.
Like a Skyrim guard at this point. Must have been the wind.
So we turn the corner and we see invisible ninja cyborg that we met earlier impaling a dude straight in the air and making a whole bunch of Sonic the Hedgehog noises while he does it. Did anyone else notice that, or is that just me? Like,
I didn't notice.
when it transitioned to him, it's like the exact sound effect that whenever Sonic like charges up his spin dash, and I just yeah, exactly. I was like, okay, sure, that's the sound that being invisible makes. I guess.
So I never heard the
I
Sonic the
didn't
Hedgehog
notice.
sound. But I did notice that taking a ration does make the same healing noise from Kingdom Hearts.
Oh, really?
Hmm. Or at least it's very similar.
Very similar?
If
I'll have
you
to
were to use
check
the
that out
ration
later.
from your inventory, yeah, we'll have to compare it. I could be wrong, but I'm remembering that sound. I think from Kingdom Hearts.
That'd be cool. Yeah, so we follow the cyborg ninja, who I will continue referring to him as that for now, into the lab, and we find Hal Emmerich being loomed over, wetting himself and looking like our good friend Joseph.
Urine
Not-
and all.
Not the wetting himself part, just the everything else part. Anyway, the ninja turns around and should we talk about like who the ninja is, or should we like do this chronologically?
I feel like it's kind of hard to do chronologically because I want to talk about multiple parts of it.
Yeah,
So
let's just
go
this is
into
our
it.
like, all right. So the ninja's revealed his name is Gray Fox. I knew that, and I promise I won't always talk about this, but this is my only reference to the Metal Gear series. Is I knew that because of Super Smash Brothers Brawl. But I guess that's a cool reveal if you didn't know that going in. His actual name is. Can we get into that?
I think that's fine. Yeah.
We find out eventually his actual name is Frank Yeager, and that he is one of Snake's best friends, and they also almost killed each other at least once. But the weird thing is Gray Fox supposedly was dead. He died in Zanzibar. But now he's alive.
6 years ago.
Yeah. Oh, okay. 6 years ago. But now he's alive. Now he's a cybernetic ninja. Turns out he was tortured and used in experiments, and he seems to have lost his mind because he just keeps screaming at Snake to hurt him and make him feel alive, which was
Very creepy.
very uncomfortable. You guys want to talk anything about the story? We can jump in the boss fight.
So when you first show up to this fight and the cutscene's going on, we see Hal wetting himself, and we have at this point Cyborg Ninja or Ninja Cyborg, I can't remember which one. I think it's Cyborg Ninja standing over Hal, and Snake shows up and he's like, "Hey, step back! What are you doing?" And Cyborg Ninja spouts off some like B-movie Jedi nonsense, is what it sounds like, and then it's really funny because Hal looks at the two of them and says, "What? This is like a scene out of one of my Japanese animes."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh no, he's a weeaboo."
Yeah.
Then,
go ahead. Sorry.
No, it's fine. And it goes a little bit further, and after you end up saving Hal, spoilers, he's hiding inside of a closet, and he asks you, you know, who are you? Are you one of them? Snake says, no, I'm alone. And Hal says, oh, so you're an otaku too? Otaku too, which otaku means weeaboo. For those of you who don't know, weeaboo is someone who appropriates Japanese culture because they think it
So
manga and anime
I
equals
looked it
Japan.
up. The clinical definition of otaku is just like a non-Japanese person who is obsessed with Japanese culture to a degree that like affects their social skills. So yeah, basically a weeboo, but I just
So
to be a little
I
more
would like to
clinical
point
about it.
out, I would like to point out, Kurt just said clinical because it might be a disorder. Keep that in your mind.
No, we're being nice. No, we don't condone that
Oh,
message.
I was just
Um,
kidding.
yeah, dude. So I'd heard of so he's like, call me Otacon. It stands for Otaku Convention. Okay. I've heard of the character Otacon, and I've like seen his pictures like from later games from somewhere. I don't know where I saw it. But I don't know, he looked like kind of like a cool dude. He's got like stubble, long like black hair, glasses, a long like coat. I was like, oh, Otacon, that's like a cool code name. And then I get here and this like sniveling guy is like, yeah, it stands for Otaku Convention. I just was like, oh my gosh,
Auto transformer.
my entire perception of this character is just immediately shattered, and I don't know what's happening anymore. It was very upsetting.
I liked it. I mean, it's so over the top, just like everything else in the game, that I couldn't help but laugh. And I was like, okay, yeah, that's fine, makes sense.
Yeah,
and like I've played the other games, and I know who he is, and like more about him than I guess either of you guys. But I actually didn't know that either. I've just always known him as either Hal Emmerich or Otacon, but I didn't realize it was a Otaku Convention, which just is so ridiculous. But I love it.
So we also find out later that Otacon, like he talks about the Japanese thing kind of like ties in because he talks about how he became an engineer and started working on these projects because he was obsessed with like the mechs and the like Gundam in like anime. So I mean it like kind of ties into story reason. It's not just like nonsense like weeaboo character. Not that there needs a reason to be one, but I don't know. It wasn't. They explained it in a way that didn't make it feel just completely out of place, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
They explain away a lot of the parts that would otherwise be cringy or weird, and for better or worse, I guess that they do. And we'll get into, I guess, some of that in just a bit as well. But I guess rewinding the boss fight itself, if we want to go ahead and talk about that.
Yeah.
Does anyone want to start? Anything you liked or disliked, or what you just generally thought?
Well, I can tell you.
Go, John.
This was my favorite boss fight of part 2 because I have been preparing for this. Every enemy I have been knocking out with my fists. So it did take a while for me to realize that was the route you were supposed to go with this enemy, because I was using I'm gonna just call them EMP grenades, because they temporarily knock out electronics. I kept trying to use those and then shooting him.
The chaff grenades?
Yes, those two. And so it would incapacitate him for a moment and you could try to shoot him, but apparently he's too low to the ground to hit with a bullet while he's not moving. So you have to actually punch him, and then he finally puts the sword away. So he'll indefinitely chase you with that sword until you start punching him, just a fun fact. Because the first time I did that boss fight, I died because I never thought to punch him. But after that, I did use my fists, and it ended up being a lot easier. But just dwindling down that health bar while trying to avoid all those moves, jumping in the air, punching, kicking. It was a lot, but I did enjoy that boss fight.
Yeah, now that I think about it, that's probably my favorite boss fight, probably so far. But it was one of the moments that made me just incredibly frustrated because he just takes so little damage every time you hit him. And he has so many different phases that by the time you are like, oh, I got this one down, I'm not going to get hit anymore. He just like switches up and starts hitting you in different ways. Yeah, I realized as soon as he was doing Jedi nonsense blocking bullets with swords, with a sword that I need to like run up and punch him because you can't block a punch with a sword. That's not possible. So
He
yeah, I
could cut
just
it off.
no only yeah, that's true. He did do that. So I don't know. Snake's invincible, I guess. But yeah, I liked the boss fight. It was very long. And then in the last or the second to last phase, whenever he like teleports behind you, you know what I'm talking about?
That one was the easiest one.
Nothing personnel, kid.
You say that one was the easiest one, but he deals in just an absurd amount of damage in that
Really?
phase. Like if you get hit
I never
twice,
got hit with it.
if you get hit twice, you die. Like he takes over half your health in one hit. And as far as I'm aware, the only time your health increases is when you beat a boss. So there's no way to like artificially grind it any higher than it is. What do you think, Ryder?
So this was also my favorite boss fight, and it became my favorite boss fight about 30 seconds in. I don't know if either of you picked up on it, but I was proud of myself because I shot at him like maybe 2 or 3 times. He hit me with the sword, and he said, "That's not going to work on me," something like that. And he's like, "That's not how you fight," or something along the lines that kind of like goading me. And I was like, "I'll knock your lights out." And so I put the gun away, thinking like this is the game's way of telling me you need to do something else. It's going to be an unconventional fight. And so like I put my pistol away and then punched him, and he took damage. And I was like, "This is awesome. I like this idea."
Yeah, it's more good dialogue, sort of guiding you without just being like completely opaque. That's not the word I'm looking for, but we can move on.
I get what you mean. Yeah.
Heavy-handed.
I really like that. It's good game design. And it was kind of weird him like his masochistic, like beat me up. But I mean, I also at the same time, like I do understand that, you kind of have all your body replaced with robot parts. You probably want to feel what you can. So I guess I kind of understand, where they're going with that. I enjoyed how many phases there were, but I died 3 times. The first time just ran out of health. Second time, I actually got him all the way down to his, I guess technically his last phase. He had no health as far as like on the health bar.
Yeah.
But I was like right beside him because I just finished like knocking the snot out of him. And then he was like, "I'm going to explode now." And then I didn't have any health, didn't have any more rations. So that killed me. And that was near rage number 2 because I had just done extremely well up until that point. And then here's other cat because it won't stay off away from the camera. But that was my second point of almost raging, and thankfully I did not. Kept cool, and then I redid it and got him down to 0 health again. He does this like charging electricity thing, and I was like, "Okay, why isn't he dying?" He started teleporting, and I was like, "Oh, okay, so we're supposed to shoot him at this point." So it was nice because it's an unconventional boss fight start to finish, but then at the end, you've been karate chopping him the entire time, and then you actually have to switch to a conventional way to kill him by shooting him. So I really like that.
Yeah, I think it was well designed. I just personally feel like he just took a little too little damage, and so I don't know how you guys did it. I died like 7 or 8 times minimum, and on the time that I beat him, it was the first time I'd ever beaten his like second to last phase where he teleports. So when his health is at 0 and he just stands up and starts shooting electricity like out of his skin, I'm just like, no, I don't want anything. So I just pulled out the machine gun and just started blasting as like fast as I could. And I ended up being fine, but that was very tense because I'd gotten frustrated at that point, and it might not have been good for my like stress levels if I had died after all of that. But yeah, after you beat him, he just sort of ninjas away. And then you have the conversation with Otacon. Otacon tells you all about who he is. Says that he likes Japanimation. I just wanted to make sure I said that word out loud. Anyway, Snake calls Meryl, and they're like, "Hey, let's meet up to talk about like these keycard codes that we're gonna use to stop the nuclear launch." And then Meryl's like, "Okay," and then people start attacking her or something. So the call ends abruptly, and you got to go find her. how quickly did you guys find her?
No, you can't just skip this part
Oh,
because
did I skip
we got to
something?
go. Yeah, we got to go back, and this is referencing last episode a little bit. So we talked about briefly how there's like the just over the top, like zoom in, like edits, like flash on Meryl's butt as she's running away, and it came up again because you're talking to Hal about it, and he goes, "Oh
Yes,
yeah, she has a cute behind," and you're like,
yeah, I intentionally skipped over this part. Yeah.
"Well,
He
I
knew what he was
wanted to
doing.
bring it up because we
It's
mentioned
relevant.
it last time, and it continues, and not excusing this, but I'm wondering if there is some gameplay element behind it because they mentioned that she has a very distinct walk, and
Oh.
and the male enemies just walk, I guess, in a fairly straight line versus Meryl swings her hips when she walks. It's supposed to be
Does she
a
actually?
feminine gait. I don't know
Yeah.
if she did or didn't. So okay, I guess if John
Okay.
saw it, see with me, I
Then-
found her on accident.
Good job, Kojima.
I got caught. At least I thought I did. I walked around a corner and was sneaking around, and I walked into a room, grabbed some, equipment or whatever, and I came around the corner as she was walking around the corner, and I wasn't paying attention to my radar, and she saw me, and I was like, "Here we go," and she ran away, and
Yeah.
I was like, "Wait a minute, and so then I chased after her and got to the restroom where she goes, and the rest is history. But
Gotcha.
that took me like 30 seconds, and I did it completely on accident. So I didn't even get a chance to check and see like if her like walk was any different than the male enemies or not.
But John, you said you did notice it and that it is different.
Yeah, I did notice a small difference, but yeah, the quickest and easiest way is sorry. The quickest and easiest way is it's not going to be the one in the men's restroom on that floor. And then that only leaves 2 other ones. So I was mistakenly seen by the other guard, and then he tried to brutally murder me and succeeded. And so I was like, well, there's only one more left. And then I believe I noticed a difference in the gait of the person walking there. And then as soon as you walk in front of her, she does the noise like she's seen you, but then she goes to the bathroom instead of trying to brutally murder you.
Yeah. So what I did is I walked into that room and I was like, they added more security. That's cool. I didn't really think about it. And then I was just sneaking around trying to, because I think Hal gives you like an upgraded key card. So I was like sneaking around to get into like all the rooms that I couldn't do before. And I almost got caught by one of the guards, and I like flipped him over. When you flip the guards over, they're like, huh. Well, this one made like a different sound effect, and it was like feminine. And I was like,
wait a minute.
So I waited for her to stand up, and then I did it again. And I was like, yeah, that sounds like a girl. And then I went and hid, and then she like ran away, and I was like, oh, she's gonna go to the girls' bathroom, and I followed her in there, and then I was like, oh, I bet Meryl's in here. I bet Meryl's like in the girls' bathroom, and then just like right over, yeah, completely. But I got it in retrospect. But yeah, but then short aside, I forgot to save and like close my game like right after the next cutscene, and I loaded it back in and had to find Meryl again. And I was like, okay, I know where she is now. She's the guard on the right. And so like I run up to the guard on the left immediately, and then just like choke them out. Did you know that you're not choking them out, that you're just breaking their necks? Did you guys know that?
Did you kill Meryl?
Well,
hold on, we'll get there.
Well, my friend Kurt told me that I am incapacitating them.
I thought you were incapacitating them.
So that's
you see their heads like.
Yeah,
I don't know. I just thought it was like a bad sound effect, like because just silently like falling. I don't know. I thought you were choking them out and they were just passing out.
Well, that's what my friend Kurt told me. So I've been using that word when we've been discussing this.
Okay. Well, you can say whatever you want to say now, because I'll admit I was wrong.
Got it.
Yeah. So I just snuck up behind him, and it was like do, and then I just hear snake. And then it's just do, and the game over screen pops up, and I'm like, so she's on the left, in case anybody goes back and needs to do that. Yeah,
I think they rotate, so there's no way for you to consistently know. because they're doing like a little patrol in like a square. So
it's not my fault that she died. That's not my fault.
It's her own fault, really.
Yeah, it's so we get to the next section, and Snake and Meryl have a heart-to-heart in the bathroom. Snake talks about how let me see, I have it written down, how he feels like his only purpose is war, but the only winners of war are the people. And then Meryl talks about how she became a soldier to feel closer to her dead father, who was also a soldier, but how she regrets her decisions. And then Snake says to suck it up and other misogynistic and rude things. And then they leave. Do you guys want to talk about anything else that happens in that cutscene?
I mean, you pretty much wrapped it up. I don't remember specifics now as far as the dialogue, but I remember being like, or like there's one moment where
they talk about her butt again. So
yeah,
he mentioned something like that. That's actually what it is, and she's like, "Don't try and flirt with me. It's not going to work." I'm like, well.
Don't try and flirt with me.
It is, by the way, Kojima wrote this.
Yeah,
but
she literally goes, "Don't try to flirt with me," and then like turns and looks in the mirror and is like, "My father died when I was a child." Like just immediately.
Yeah. She looks in the mirror and she's like, "I didn't wear much makeup like the other girls," like, and I was like,
"I hate women that wear makeup." It's like, come on, guys.
Yeah,
like
here we go.
Like, here we go again.
Yeah. It was cringy, but I don't know. I don't think we have to say anything else about it. But I mean, we do get some backstory about the characters, which is interesting. What were you going to say, John?
I was going to say, after that cutscene, I can tell you that they added an extra ration box in one of the bathroom stalls. Did y'all catch that?
I don't think so. I think I just left.
I don't remember anymore.
Right before that next part, yeah, it gives you a ration box after that cutscene. And it definitely comes in handy.
Nice.
I was not a peasant who didn't know how to kill people, so I was always full on rations.
Ryder never
had that
heals.
Issue.
He never. He's invincible.
I would kind of, I'm not going to say I would farm them, but I would go out of my way to check every nook and cranny. Just to make sure. And that ended up resulting in me nearly rage quitting again, because at one point I ended up with just enemies flooding at me because I was so obsessed with getting 3 out of 4 or 4 out of 4 rations, however many, 3 out of 3, 4 out of 4 rations. And I was so obsessed with doing that at that point that I ended up getting caught like probably 6 or 7 times in a row. And it was at this point where the enemies just kept on flooding off screen and I could not get away from them for the life of me. And it got to where, like, if I was caught, I was just like, come on, kill me. Like, it's faster for you to kill me. Like, just stand here. And then it went a step further where I just started dropping claymores, or not dropping claymores, C4, and just detonating it so I'd kill myself and just game over faster.
But with the claymores, have you guys successfully planted a claymore? Because literally every time I put one down, I just immediately explode. Like
you
have to be
place
laying
one
down
and then go prone.
Okay.
I don't think you can place them laying down, but I think you have to place them and then immediately go prone.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, just an aside, that was very frustrating as well. All right, now we're gonna get to the part that I think we all had a lot of trouble with for various reasons, which is we get to the Psycho Mantis fight. Meryl leads us through the commander's room. She starts acting real weird as soon as right before we enter. We get inside. She pulls a gun on us, starts saying some more weird things that Kojima wrote. And then the fight starts, and you can see like a floating invisible person hanging out behind her. And you have to incapacitate Meryl without actually killing her. And I just remembered something, so I'm going to keep talking and not let you guys have a chance. I don't know how I did this twice without knowing it. I'm not going to defend it, but somehow at this point, I also didn't know that choking people out was actually murdering them. And so they were like, Campbell's like, you have to take her out, but don't kill her. And I was like, I got this. And I immediately just ran up to her and was like, and then just broke her neck. And I don't know how I made that mistake.
You already
twice.
did it.
I don't know how I made that
mistake.
The same
twice. Character.
I know. I don't know. But yeah, and I'm assuming you guys didn't kill Meryl in that fight.
Not
No.
once.
Okay. Well, you know when you game over, Campbell like yells Snake's name a whole bunch of times.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, if you kill Meryl, he'll yell your name like twice, and then he'll just be like, Meryl. And it's really sad. And it made me feel really bad
Shame.
for murdering her. I was like, my bad. Anyway, so yeah, you just punch her in the face a bunch and she falls down, right? Is that what you guys did?
Yeah, pretty much. Just
Okay.
throat punched her like 3 or 4 times, and eventually she just passed out.
Yeah.
I legitimately would get mad when she would like actually shoot me though. I might like miss like the 3rd hit of my combo, and then she would shoot me, and I'd be like, you just and, like there's vengeance behind these fists now. But then enters the fun part of the boss fight. I use that loosely whenever you're fighting actual Psychomantis. And he does.
Psychomantis is possessing Meryl, by the way. I don't
Oh
know
yeah,
if we addressed
sorry
that.
if that wasn't clear. But the cutscene where Psychomantis reveals himself and he's like, "Hello, Snake. I am going to break the 4th wall," and he tells you about your save progress and how many items you've picked up, and then he's like, "And watch this. I'm going to move your controller." And then Snake's just like, "Controller, yes." and then they vibrate it. It's kind of cool. I really want to like give it to games when they embrace the medium in ways that, because we talk about how like this is a cinematic thing and that Kojima wants to make movies and things like that. But I mean, that's true. But he's also embracing the fact that you have a controller in your hand and that you're controlling this character who also like, for the purposes of the game, has their own motivations. And I like that they embrace that, even if it is not subtle at all. I don't know. It feels kind of out of the place, but it's also kind of neat. And I don't know. I liked it. It made me like the character more than I would have otherwise. What did you guys think? The same?
Yeah. I mean,
Oh,
yeah,
I
same.
was
No,
letting him talk.
I really like. I like. So I don't want to go too far ahead because I'm sure we're going to talk about this in like 30 seconds. But I like that. Psychomantis is able to like kind of pull from that stuff and reference it, and it's kind of, gimmicky and, like you said, breaks the 4th wall. But it's also kind of nice because he's reading your past, future, and present, and that's a big part of his character that he explains later. And I really like that. That's the way he does it, is by saying, "Oh, like he told me, you don't say very often, very risky behavior," or something like that. Yeah, and
he was like, "You
yeah.
save all the time." And I was like,
Really?
Yeah.
I got
I save like every time I do something. I'm just like, "Hey, Mei Ling," just every time.
No, I think I've
Her
saved
quotes.
twice or maybe 3 times.
Oh, yeah.
I was playing
quotes
like I said.
something.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I like her quotes.
Are they real? Like, are those real proverbs? Because they feel like not real
Okay.
proverbs that
I
they're
don't
trying to
know,
make
real.
Maybe
sound.
not, but she quotes Shakespeare, and like those are legitimate.
That I'll give, but every once in a while should be like, there's an ancient Chinese proverb,
Chinese,
and
yeah,
it's
exactly.
like, don't go after items when enemies are nearby. And it's like, I don't know about that one.
I think some of them are real, but I think there's also the others where it's just, the game being a game. But I like that about Psychomantis, and it's kind of like last time we discussed with the Meryl. You have the back of the CD box or game box you look at, and has her frequency on it, and that's just really a nice thing, a nice little touch that it almost takes you out of it.
More cat.
You chunky. But it almost takes you out of it, but I pretty much forget it as soon as like I'm progressing to the next area. Like I enjoy it thoroughly, and I enjoy it so much that it doesn't really take me out of the experience.
What were you going to say about, I feel like you're about to talk about the mechanics of the boss fight, Ryder?
Yeah, so I don't know if it's really fair for me to talk about it because I didn't have problems with it because of a different reason. So I'll let you guys talk about the boss fight, and then I'll talk about why I didn't have a problem.
John, did you have trouble with the boss fight? Just like on a purely mechanical level?
Yes.
Yes. Do you want to talk about what you did, or do you want me to go first?
I'll let you go first.
Okay. So
angry about it.
So for everybody who's playing on their original PS1s, just like we are, the goal of this fight is that, or the thing is that Psycho Mantis can read your thoughts. And so he knows what Snake's going to do. So whenever Snake tries to attack, he'll be able to just dodge out of the way. So what you have to do is you have to confuse Psycho Mantis. You have to plug a controller into the player 2 port and then control Snake with that. And Psycho Mantis can't read his thoughts because you're confusing him. Honestly, that's really cool. It's really bad for future-proofing the game. So what I ended up doing on my PS1 is going into the joypad configurations and setting up my Nintendo Switch controller as setting up my Nintendo Switch controller as the player 2 port, because my player 1 port was my PS4 controller, and so I had this one right here. And so I got into the boss fight and I was using, my Switch controller and I was playing, but I think I messed something up because I can only move like up, down, left, and right. And if I turn the stick diagonally, almost said Link, sorry, Snake would run straight down every time. I was like, huh.
Well,
so I ended up playing the boss fight with my DualShock in my left hand and my Switch controller in my right hand, and I would move with the PS4 stick and then shoot with the Switch controller, and it worked. It worked fine.
I tried that one time, and I was like, nope.
There were no problems. It was great. I mean, I didn't win immediately, but like technically it was fine. John, you seem more upset about this than I do. So
yeah, so I tried very hard to get my second PlayStation 4 controller hooked up to my PlayStation 1, and no matter what configuration, it's a lot funnier when you hear it, isn't it?
It is.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a good joke.
It's not a joke. This is real life. So
yeah, sorry, that was a joke.
Secondary PlayStation 4 controller, trying to get it hooked up, and no matter what I could do, I could not get it to work. So I ultimately had to somehow get my keyboard to work with that PlayStation 1. And no matter what I could do, I could not get the keyboard to go player 1 so I could use my controller for player 2. So I had to use my keyboard for that fight. And I don't know if you've tried to run diagonally with a keyboard, but it doesn't work very well.
I bet it's terrible.
So my game footage is going to be in this video, so I'll edit it in right here, but you'll see just how wonderful those controls were for me trying to do that boss fight. It was terrible.
Save the reveal until like right now. Go ahead.
Right now, got it. Anyway, so yeah, that fight was pretty rough, but after I got through it, I ended up swapping back to my controller and having a lot less problems. But that fight drove me pretty crazy. I actually had to stop because for one, it was getting late when I was playing and I had to work the next day. And for two, I just didn't want to mess with it anymore for one day. So
yeah, I don't blame you. I did all my troubleshooting for that like in the middle of the day. So if it had been like midnight and I was just trying to get through it, I would have probably lost my mind. So I don't blame you. But I mean, in concept, you gotta admit that's a cool fight. It's a cool idea for a fight, at least.
It was a cool idea.
I still kept dying quite a bit because I kept just getting hit by all the furniture and stuff he was throwing around the room. But then I realized that for all of his attacks, except for the lanterns, I think they were, and the like animal skulls that he pulls off the walls, if you just stand in the center of the room by the entrance, and you can just like sit there and shoot, and you can just kill him that way because you can't get hit by any of his other attacks if you just stand there.
So you can duck.
Yeah, I laid on the floor.
So this is a positive space, and I don't need you guys to come in here and like bring me down when I'm sharing pro strats for fighting Psycho Mantis. Yes, John? Yes?
I was just gonna say, yeah, if you've got the pro strats, you don't even have to lay down. You're doing the no hit run. I
beat the whole boss without
taking a hit. That's
without lying down. Yeah, that's exactly. Laying down, I never understood that grammar rule. Yeah,
that's fine. We don't believe in that here.
Meryl gets back up a few times through the boss fight. And sorry, my screen went off. Meryl gets back up a few times in the boss fight, and you just have to keep punching her. And then Psycho Mantis gets real mad and just starts throwing what I only know to call mind bombs at you. That part was very frustrating because it killed me a few times because it's just like the final phase, the last like sixth of his health maybe. So I ended up just camping in the top right corner and just dodging his attacks until he teleported one of like the 2 spaces right next to it, and then I would just like smoke him with the machine gun again. But is that basically what you guys did, or did you come up with a smart way to keep up with him while he was teleporting?
I just ran circles around the room and ducked whenever he was throwing chairs at me,
Mm-hmm.
and whenever he was using the 2 smaller statues, that's when I would duck. The other times I was running around the room just chasing him down. No logic or anything to it.
Mm-hmm.
I was
for
just
me.
doing this around the room, just circles.
Yeah.
But if you shoot him before he can throw them, he won't throw them at all.
Mhm.
He'll like stun and go into like invincibility frames, and
The
then he'll
mind
teleport
bombs?
away. Yeah, and
Yeah.
so that's what I was doing. Was I was just spinning, and I was doing it fast enough that I could pretty much stop at any point that I needed
Mm-hmm.
to, and I just faced him. And I wasn't using the FAMAS. I was using the SOCOM.
Mm-hmm.
So anytime that I needed to, I was just spinning. I think the SOCOM does more damage. It's slower, but I'd stop and then shoot, and then
That's a
it'd
good
stun
idea.
him, and then it'd restart it again. But as far as the way that I beat the boss fight, so I played it the first time, and I went into the boss fight and kind of doped around for a little bit. So you, before Psychomantis appears, you go into the room with Meryl, who is currently possessed or, being mind controlled, whatever, by Psychomantis. And you have about 30 seconds in the room to just look around, do whatever. Doesn't really tell you what to do. There's no real purpose as far as you can really tell.
Mm-hmm.
But I went around and looked at the room. First thing that I noticed is that there's these 2 busts in the corners. Each one of them has a gas mask on,
Mm-hmm.
like Psychomantis. Thought it was interesting, didn't really think too much about it afterward. Well, fast forward to the actual fight, and I had 4 rations and I had full health. And I just ran around the room and got the crap knocked out of me for probably like 5-6 minutes because I had so much health and full rations. So just anytime I would die, my health would refill with rations.
Mhm.
I wasn't doing any damage, but about halfway through this, not able to figure it out. I was like, there is some gimmick to this. Like, I don't know what it is. Well, I walked over to the bust. I started shooting the bust, shooting. Wouldn't do anything. Ended up calling on my codec to the colonel, and he was like, I know there's got to be some weakness. And I called him back again. He does essentially the same spiel. And then like on the 3rd or 4th time he called me, he's like, I know what it is. Plug the controller into port 2. And I was like, well, my PS1 has a broken second port, so it's gonna be really hard to do. And I was thinking, there just doesn't make sense that that's the only way to beat this boss fight, because this game was re-released on PC.
Mm-hmm.
It was re-released on the PSP as a PlayStation Classic. It was also re-released on PS3, which is a little bit easier to imagine. It's easy to connect a Player 2 controller, but still
different.
There's not a port, And so I started trying to find something. I couldn't really find anything, and I Googled something along the lines of statues in corners, Psychomantis fight, and ended up finding this one Reddit thread where someone said something along the lines of, yeah, I think if you shoot the statues, you don't need the second port, but I'm not too sure. And someone else was like, I know there's a second way to beat him if you don't have a port 2, but I can't remember. And I was like, okay. So on my second try, I walked into the room, and within that first 30 seconds, I went ahead and shot the first bust, and it exploded. It wouldn't explode during the actual boss fight, but during that 30-second gap before the actual fight starts, I was able to destroy that one, walk to the left side, destroyed that one as well. So the boss fight started, Psychomantis pops up, and he actually tells me, you're really good at avoiding traps. And I was like, okay, that seems intentional. And I took out my pistol and shot him, and it did damage. And I completely avoided having to plug in my controller into the second port on my PS1. because of that. So Kojima is Psycho Manus and can predict the future because he knew that whether it be maybe someone might not be able to, use the second port, maybe there is something wrong with the port, or I don't think he was predicting this far ahead, but the game being re-released on something like the PSP. But it's crazy that that option was there because I was really worried about, it breaking me in. We were playing the PS1 version of the game, so it's not like this is something that was added 10, 15 years later. This is the original release of the game, and he added that, which is a really nice detail.
Yeah, I didn't know about that, and that's like baffling to me. But what's more baffling is that neither of you guys knew about the Player 2 thing, like the Player 2 port, because I don't know. I unfortunately knew about it going into this, even though I've never played this game. But to me, it's always just been one of gaming's worst kept secrets that everybody, just can't help but talk about because it's such a cool thing. So I don't know. I'm just very surprised.
I actually did know that. Yeah,
I'm very surprised
I love
that neither
the series,
of
but
you knew about it. But yeah,
so I love the series, but somehow like never had that spoiled for me at any point.
Congratulations, that's awesome. That's really cool, especially that you found out like a different way to take care of it. I don't know. That would have saved us both some headaches. So thanks for not sharing.
Yeah, thanks.
So after he's defeated, are we good to move on?
Yeah.
All right. So after he defeats Psycho Mantis, he's laying there dying. He tells Snake the way to get to Metal Gear Rex. Snake's like, "Why are you telling me this?" And Psycho Mantis, in about as many words, says, "Because you're the only person I've ever met that isn't solely focused on sex." And I was like, that's his character motivation, I guess. Yes, Ryder.
So almost, but no.
Yeah, I'm exaggerating.
It goes into it first. Well, he explains it, but I don't know. I don't want to skip too far ahead because this is something we'll go into at the end. But Snake, depending on your choices, does explain a certain phrase that he says, which we'll get into that later. So I'll rewind to that. But he says that we have something in common. But again, it depends on your choices whether or not you're going to get that, I think. So.
Interesting. Well, I got that. Did you get that, John? John's like zoomed out. He's like, I don't care about Psycho Mantis. I'm just mad.
I was listening, but I just don't have a comment on that, actually.
Okay.
So he does say that as far as, humans just want to like spread their seed, but then he like also adds in another line that says essentially we have shared trauma is what he says.
Oh.
But he says that, but he doesn't explain it, and you don't get it as a player. Meryl doesn't get it as an onlooker. But the only person who understands is Snake and Psycho Manus at the same time.
Gotcha.
But it's something that's discussed later, again, depending on the choices you chose. So, but we'll continue and get to that for a short rewind.
No, you're good. Mantis goes on and gives his backstory. He's basically Tyrion Lannister, where his mom died when he was being born, and his dad hated him for it. And then he got psychic powers, and he was like, "My dad hates me." And then he burned down his village and joined Liquid Snake as an excuse to kill as many people as possible. He was like almost sympathetic for like 1 second, and then he's like, "Yeah." And then I made it my life's mission to murder as many people as possible for no reason. And it's like, okay, we're gonna put this mask back on, and we're gonna go through the secret staircase that you showed us existed.
His dying breath is a very nice moment, though, where he's like, "I helped you," and it felt kind of nice. And it's like, okay, so you're not completely evil.
Yeah,
which is, I guess, kind of the point of this series is that, it is kind of over the top, but it's morally gray. There's no one that's really, over the top, big bad, Power Rangers villain evil. Like everyone has some light to them in some aspect. Even someone that's a serial killer, like Psycho Manus.
Yeah, and then you take his mask off to see his face, and at the end, he's like, when I don't have this mask on, I can't be private in my own thoughts, So please, like, put it back on and let me just enjoy my final moments alone. That's pretty good. I'm gonna give him that one. That's pretty good. But then he died. Yes, John?
I was just gonna say, whenever you remove the mask, does Meryl have like a little comment she says about him or something?
Gross. Yeah, she's like, "Oh, gross." Yeah, it's really. It's
just
not very
wanted-
polite,
I
Meryl.
was making sure I didn't make that up.
No, you didn't make that up.
So I had to go and look it up just to make sure. And he's like extremely deformed from like injuries, looks like burning and whatnot. And so like that's what the comment is in reference to. It's not just, oh, he's ugly. It's like, no,
Yeah.
he's like actually
Yeah, you could see like he had
scarred
like stitches or something like a scar
Mhm.
across his forehead.
and
so-
Frankenstein.
That's what I was
Yeah,
about to say.
basically.
Frankenstein look.
But he does reveal to you like the secret path forward. You head that way. You have to go through a cave filled with wolves, but then Snake assures you that they're half wolf, half like husky or something. And then he's
Mhm.
basically looking directly at the camera and he says, "I'm a musher." I didn't
Yeah,
know.
I was like,
I was like, okay, cool. I didn't
Okay,
know that
yeah.
about you, Snake. Thanks for sharing.
He has depth.
Yeah, he's a deep character. I don't know. I thought that made me laugh. That was probably I don't know. That's probably the funniest part of this chunk, and probably wasn't supposed to be funny.
Mhm.
I
It was-
laughed
it was
because I was
funny
like,
'cause-
where did this come from?
yeah, it didn't. All of it was unnecessary. Like they could have just been wolves. Like they
Yeah.
didn't have to be like hybrids. And then he could have just known that by being like, oh, I know by the sound or by their look. But now he's
Yeah.
like, I'm a musher. But I think he's been living in Alaska. Is the explanation. So they're kind of
Yeah,
building
he has for a
Snake
while.
as a character as well. So I mean, it's not just he knows. Like yes, he's a musher, but he's not just a musher. He's a musher because he's been living in Alaska.
That's
So-
actually a really good explanation. That does add some like depth to his character, even though it's kind of like in your face about it, I guess.
Yeah,
I don't know why
it's not
I
really
keep-
necessary, but
Yeah, I don't know why I keep qualifying these things. I can just say that parts are good and that can be fine. Yeah, and then Meryl's like, all right, follow me through the wolf cave, and you get through the wolf cave. Anyone want to talk about, did you get mauled?
I got
I
attacked a few
didn't die.
times.
I got
I never
attacked a few
died.
times.
I didn't die either, but you get to the end, and then the dogs are just sitting there, like, with hearts above them, standing around Meryl, and they're like, what's
Dogs.
the dog wolves,
Hybrids.
the hybrid dog
Wait.
wolves?
How many? Yeah,
Yeah.
there were
What?
plural dogs.
Yeah,
So
I had 3 of
there's-
them. Yeah.
So there's a. Did you kill any of the dogs, Strider?
Whoops. So which dogs?
So
They're
there's the puppy.
big dogs or the puppies?
There's
Only one puppy.
There's one puppy that I think is there no matter what. But then there are, I think if you have any dogs following you, they'll follow you through the hole that you crawl through. And then they'll be like, oh, chill, it's Meryl. And then they'll sit and they'll have hearts above them too. Because I had
Yeah.
one dog and a puppy, and John said he had more than that. So
Yeah, I never killed a single dog hybrid wolf in this.
yeah, Ryder's cats,
No
if you're
mercy.
listening, run.
I took them out.
Yeah,
I ain't a dog person.
he shook them
What's
like,
even worse is what were you gonna say?
I'm like, never mind. It's fine. Go ahead.
Quoting Monsters Inc.
No,
He
it's the
said,
Monsters
Pick him
Inc.
up and shook him like a dog.
No, that would have been really good, but no, it was. Go ahead.
So, if
Oh,
it
so-
helps, I mistakenly punched the puppy at one point. If that helps,
So
I did not
that's what-
mean to.
I
but
killed
did.
all the dogs and then crawled through the little like
No.
gap in the cave, and then the puppy, had the little exclamation mark, and so I was like, and I went,
You're like,
shot the dog, I shot the puppy, and the puppy went like, and ran away, and I was like, oh god, that was a puppy. And then I walked over and he was sitting in front of Meryl with hearts and he didn't die, thankfully. So it was okay. And then later on I had to backtrack to that area and didn't mean to. I thought maybe I could pet the dog and just like punch the dog. so I'm surprised the dog isn't dead at this point, considering I shot him like
did
twice.
the other
and
dogs
punched him.
respawn?
Yeah, they respawn every time I get
Okay.
through.
Well, that's good. They're not actually dead. Yeah,
And then
John.
I'd kill them again.
Okay, so I was gonna say that puppy actually helped me out because I couldn't figure out where to go. So whenever I was in the right location, where you pick up the I don't remember what kind of pills they are, but you pick up some pills
Yeah.
and some ammunition in those caves. Well, I thought I was just missing something in that cave. That was where you should go.
Mhm.
And then the puppy showed up out of nowhere. And then I was just like, okay, well, here's a puppy. It's not attacking me. What do I do now? So I crawled back out, and then the puppy comes out with me. And then the puppy just bolts right, and I'm just like, "Where did you just?" I was like, "Oh, there's a hole here. Okay, well,
So
I'll go in there."
the puppy liked you. Okay,
The
that's nice.
puppy liked me, and then I ended up mistakenly punching it. But fun fact, I don't know if y'all figured this out or not, but if you punch Meryl
Mm-hmm.
and put a cardboard box on,
Mm-hmm.
the puppy gets mad at you and will pee on the box.
Yeah.
Once it pees on the box, none of the other wolves attack you
Yeah.
when you walk through with the box on.
Yeah, it's pretty
So
great.
you don't have to murder any of them, Ryder. Just a
Are
fun
you two
fact.
using walkthroughs? Because I think you're using walkthroughs.
So what I did?
You are. You
No, 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 no,
hesitated,
no.
so you're using walkthroughs.
I literally didn't hesitate. I was about to blatantly tell you what I was doing. There's a part later where you have to backtrack like super far to find something. And I was getting frustrated, like looking around just blindly. And so I just looked up like the location and I scrolled past the cave thing and just in big bold letters, it said P. And I was like, well, so I read that part and that's how I figured that out.
Okay.
John might be an
Okay.
honest man.
So, Ryder, you do know that one of the codec people is a Beastmaster, right?
Oh, I never call him. I don't think we've said
Master. Yeah.
his. We haven't referenced him this entire
Well,
either
I'm not good with
episode.
names,
Yeah.
but one of them is an animal expert.
Yeah, his name's just Master.
His name's Master. I can't remember his first name. It's something Miller. But
Oh,
he's like a wildlife expert. So he's also knows like flora and fauna of the region. Period. But
Yeah,
like
is his whole
he
shtick?
never calls you directly.
Yeah, isn't his whole shtick is he retired from the military and lives in Alaska? So he's like, I know all about the birds and everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't think about
But
that.
he doesn't
That'd been
call
cool to
you. You
figure
have to
out.
call him. So
Mhm.
that's I missed that.
So yeah,
I'm
so
still
that's
suspicious of you, John.
that's a very fun fact. So he is actually there to help you with different types of animals. However, if you never call him like I don't, then you used a walkthrough for something and you mistakenly read the part about the wolves. Yeah, I wasn't using that to cheat. I just was the psycho mantis boss. I knew there was a way to fight him other than
That's fair.
So I was researching how to do the psycho mantis boss, and then that was on the page, and I had read
I think that's completely fair. I did it I looked up, stuff on Psychomantis. I also looked up stuff for how to contact Meryl initially because I was like, I can't read the back of this disc. There's no way.
It's too scratched.
Yeah, mine was in Japanese. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The numbers are in Japanese, John.
I just had the blank case without the sleeve, so that's nothing on the back.
Those Japanese numbers will get you every time.
Well, my codec has issues. We're having issues with the video because these PlayStations are so old. So my codec has sometimes the title screen shows up on my codec. I'm not making that up. The title screen shows up on my codec. And I can't
had that happen.
And I can't read the numbers on my codec.
Yeah, mine just says 0 straight across the whole way.
So I actually had
my
to
PlayStation's in better shape than yours.
Yes, so I had to pick the person to call that was closest to Meryl's number, and I had to literally count to the correct one, counting down one at a time to call her. It was very annoying. But anyway, yeah, that's the wolf area.
I was going to ask with the wolf area. So, John, if you have them pee on the box, they're not going to attack you after that. But Kurt, do they continue to attack you if they're friends with Meryl? If you have to come back later?
No, if you come back later, you come through, you put the box on, you're good to go.
That's P box, though.
Yeah, the P box.
Okay.
I only walk back through with the box, so I wouldn't be able to know if they attack.
Yeah, if you walk through, they're like, "Oh, we're gonna mess you up," and then you put on the box, and they just like sit and have hearts over them, and they just follow you around.
Interesting. Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah, that's a nice detail.
Yeah, it's a cool mechanic. Once you get through the cave, there's like a minefield area, and it's very. I don't know if you guys have played Undertale, but there's a section of Undertale that's just like it, where a character like very slowly walks through and shows you how to not get destroyed. And you're supposed to follow that path. I just belly crawled a straight line directly to Meryl, and I picked up like 4 mines on the way. Did you guys follow the path? Did you guys do that?
I specifically did not skip that cutscene just to watch her path. And I was like, okay, this may be important. These might be mines instead of claymores, and I can't pick them up. So I watched her walk the whole path patiently, turned on my thermal goggles, and they were just claymores, and
Yeah.
I just crawled and picked them all up, and I was like,
Yeah.
okay, well, I'm through this now. Thank you.
Yeah, claymore mines. Yeah.
So I started like following her path, but was running way too fast to like actually stay on it. It's like I started running and then immediately like skipped over to like the next like line. So if her line was like this, I went like shoot and just cut across instead of following like around it. And I didn't explode and was like, oh no. And I just laid down on my belly. I was like, this is the safest thing. And I started crawling along and I was following the line, but on my belly.
Yeah.
And started picking up mines. And I was like, no, never mind. And so I just started doing like
Never
this,
mind.
like all the way down, just zigzagging across and picked up every one of the claymores. Yeah, I just started zigzagging like across the screen while I'm prone. And I ended up picking up as many as I could. And then went into the cutscene.
Yeah, we get into a cutscene where Meryl gets shot 3 times in a very like traumatizing fashion. And then she starts talking about how she failed and it was real sad. And then her and Campbell are both like, Snake, don't go out there. It's a trap. Sniper Wolf is shooting at you. You got to go find a sniper rifle. And that's when I looked up a walkthrough because I was like, I looked for it and I was like, I don't know where this is. And it's like, oh, go all the way back to the previous area to find the sniper rifle. And yeah. Did you find it without a walkthrough, Ryder? Oh, wait, John?
I was going to say, Ryder, you would be proud of me. I found it without a walkthrough. I did not
I'm
need
very
a
proud of you.
walkthrough other than for Psycho Manus.
I used to walk through. No shame.
Yeah, not really. What spoilers? This game's what, 50 years old?
24 years old. Yeah.
Yeah.
Half of 50.
Yeah. So
20.
So I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but the key card levels are on the doors, on what doors they work on. So I have a little note that I write down, what level key card. I'm like, this is the area
that's smart.
that I haven't been in yet because it had level 6 on the door, level 5 on the door. And so I actually knew it was still in the first area, but I didn't know at what point I should go back. And finally we were like, yeah, get a sniper rifle. Like, oh, this is probably the time. It's going to be somewhere. And then I actually went in the other area that what's the area we're in right now?
The Nuclear Warhead
Communications.
Storage Facility.
Yeah, Nuclear Warhead Storage Facility. So there's
we're not
another
there yet.
area we opened up in between are the 2 boss fights that actually has some more of the pills in it. And those were actually very helpful in the boss fight as well.
So for me, what actually happened is I
think I
into
make
the
her
boss.
very sad. Go ahead, Ryder.
What?
Yeah, go ahead. I'll tell you later. Go ahead.
Okay.
It's fine. We'll get to it.
So I got the sniper rifle. Sorry, I'm like confused. So I'm having to like back up and try to remember where I was going. So cutscene starts. Meryl gets shot 3 times. Oh, that's not good. Well, they're like, Snake, you need to get a sniper rifle. You need to fight back against Sniper Wolf. And I was like, okay. I was running down like the little hallway and kept on getting shot and pulling back. And then it happened like 3 or 4 times. And I got down to like 1 ration. And I was like, this is stupid. And I got on my codec because I remembered Hal being like, oh yeah, if you need rations or ammo, I can bring them to you. And I was like, I'll call my buddy Hal. And so I called him to like bring me some rations.
About that.
And he was like, the Snake immediately goes, Otacon, do you know where I can find a sniper rifle? And he's like, oh yeah, I think I saw one in the armory on B2 in the tank hangar. And I was like,
big brain plays.
Yeah,
I'm not going back there. and so I called him again, and he was like, yeah, I think I saw one on B2 and the exact same thing. And I was like, no, I'm not doing this. And so then I called Colonel, and he was like, Snake, don't go out there. Just please save it. And I was like, no. And I called everyone in the codec. And I even
the
tried calling
Beastmaster?
Meryl, who's bleeding out on the floor, and
Yeah,
and
like,
it said no
no
response. And I was like,
response.
ah! And so I ended up going all the way back. And this part's hilarious because I just lost all sense of urgency
Yeah.
because she's like, help me, I'm bleeding out.
Mhm.
And by the time I got back,
Time for a
my
trip.
like save log said it was like an hour and 15 minutes. Like all the backtracking was like, she dead. Like she I know this is like a video game, but the amount
She
of
got
time
shot
that it took
3
me
times by
to,
sniper rounds. I mean,
yeah, she got shot like once in the thigh, which is like major artery. Then she
Yeah.
gets shot like once in the arm, which is whatever. But then the third shot is like somewhere in a torso or neck or
I
something.
think it's
And I
like
was
her like her
she's
belly.
like super dead.
Yeah.
And I just again I lost all sense of urgency. He's like, I gotta save Meryl. Man, I care about her. She's special to me. And I was like, okay. And
She's
again, by the
making me
time
go
that I
all
got
the way
back,
back, get the sniper
I
rifle,
know.
go all.
By the time that I got back, I was so indifferent because I was
Mhm.
like, I just lost all sense of urgency because it was an hour. I was annoyed that I had to go all the way back. This is a example of not great game design. I ended up collecting a lot of other stuff along the way. You know, I refilled on some like rations and some ammo and, you know, grenades, whatnot. But it took, like I said, like an hour and 15 minutes. And I didn't really care if she was alive or dead by the time that I got back because it just took so long and I was so annoyed that I had to backtrack all the way to the beginning of the game.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'll
come
go
on,
a
give
step
me a
further.
minute.
I'll go a step further, Ryder. I'd say that's flat out bad game design. I mean, backtracking has its place, specifically if you get like new abilities that let you explore old areas in different ways. But that's not really what happens, and they make you go so far back. You have to go through like at least 6 different zones just to get back to where you were, and it's just it's not good.
It's not like something where, oh, well, you could have gotten it earlier, but you were stupid. You know, it's not like, oh, you missed something, so now we're going to force you to backtrack.
Mhm.
You didn't have the key card until that point to actually go and get it, you know, so you couldn't
Is
get it
that the
until
case?
that cutscene. Yeah, I'm pretty sure, unless I'm wrong, because I think it was in a level 5 armory locker.
John
You didn't
had
get the key card
the
till right
finger
then.
of correction
So,
ready.
I mean, yeah,
No.
if you got
It's not a
yeah.
correction. It's not a correction. I was just gonna say, technically, I believe you could have went back after you meet Meryl with the wolves, because she's not there to tell you don't go back anymore. So in hindsight, you could have went then, but who would have thought to
Yeah,
do
but
that?
that's
No one.
Yeah.
that's still arbitrary because even
Yeah.
I mean, you still have to backtrack pretty much
The
the
whole
exact
thing.
same distance. Yeah.
once you get because once Meryl gives you the card, she's with you, and she doesn't let you go down the elevator until you finish the Psycho Boss or the Psycho Mantis boss fight. So
Mhm.
yeah, that was definitely like a rough part of the game. When I looked it up, I'm not ashamed that I looked it up because I didn't feel like searching every nook and cranny, and I'm not smart enough to use the resources the game gives me and call on companions. But yeah,
Fun fact, even after the Psycho Mantis boss, she doesn't let you go back. She said, that's not where you're supposed to go. And then she
Yeah.
makes you
She
go
was like,
oh gosh,
what
makes
are
you
you
go to the
doing,
wolves
silly?
area. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I did
Yeah.
try to go back because I wanted to see if any of the rations respawned. And
Mhm.
not on that first floor they didn't, but whenever you do all that backtracking, you can actually check around and a lot of that stuff is respawned. So you can go get rations, you can go get ammo, you can go get all this, so you don't have to worry about running out at this point. So anytime
Gotcha.
you might be running low, you could just go back and it should have respawned.
I actually got a set of body armor that wasn't previously available. I don't know if you guys got that, but
Yeah,
no, but
see,
I'm
that
gonna
was
go back immediately when I start the next
I
section.
don't know if
that
you
was
can.
something I
You might
grabbed
be able to.
Where was it?
on the where Meryl was walking around.
It's in the
It's
it's in
nuclear
there. Maybe I did get that.
nuclear storage, but it's B2,
B1.
B1. It's
Yeah.
B1 where the gas floor is at.
Oh, the
There's
gas
like
floor.
one
That's
level
that's
Oh,
B2.
my bad. Yeah,
Mhm.
That's
my
B2.
bad.
B2. So
Okay.
there's like one room that's like a level 6 on that floor. And
Gotcha. I'll go check it
I
out.
when I backtrack through everything because I'm like, I'm
Yeah,
not
I do
doing
too.
this again.
Mhm.
So I got literally every single room. There's another room that you can only get if you go all the way back. I think it's past the armory, back past Revolver Ocelot's boss room.
Uh-huh.
There's another level 6 room, but it's just a camera. I think it's more for if you just want to save a picture for yourself, you save it to the memory card. I don't know if it has any effect on gameplay or if it's like
That's kind of
I
cool.
want to
Though.
go back like
And
a
then
scrapbook, but
there's one other thing. So that's why I mixed this up. So there is another room wherever guard Meryl, where you have to figure out who she is. One of those rooms has a medicine box in it.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
I did get that.
Yes.
and that I don't know when you're gonna need that, but I already grabbed it, and I'm assuming I'm gonna need it later. So now I don't have to backtrack later to go
Mhm.
get it.
Is your
So-
snake not sneezing?
No,
It's
is
really-
yours?
Yeah, what'd you do?
Mine caught a cold.
Were
My
you just
snake caught a cold, and I was gonna bring this up anyway. So
Yeah, go ahead. That
um,
didn't happen to me
it-
either.
it's a really interesting moment. And like characters will comment on it, like in the codex, like, "Oh, you got a cold, homie. That's not good. You can jeopardize the mission with that." And first time I noticed it was because it was actually while I was backtracking to go get the sniper rifle. I was hiding in a corner, and an enemy was doing his patrol path, and I wasn't in his path. He was
Mhm.
going to walk right beside me. As he's walking beside me, Snake goes, "How'd you?" And the enemy
Yeah.
like turns immediately. He's like, "Hey!" And then I ended up dying there.
Bless you.
And it happened like 2 or 3 times, and I was like, Why? How? I haven't seen any medicine. Am I going to have to play like the next hour like this?" And then I found the medicine like right afterward. So I don't know if you can get sick again, or if maybe I did just something that you guys didn't. Maybe I laid in the snow for too long. I don't know,
Yeah, I
but
don't know. That's weird.
somehow
Yeah,
I caught a
I
cold
have
and I
no
took
idea.
the medicine that stopped immediately. So it was really interesting detail.
Well, there's only one thing I can think of. So in the wolf area, there's some water on the ground, and then there's also snow in that cave, right? Maybe you walked through that or laid in that water and then went in the snow. Maybe that's the only thing I can think
Maybe
of that
so.
would cause it, because I did not get a cold. So I was
I've-
waiting for a time where that would come in handy.
Yeah, I have no idea, but now I know what to use the medicine for if I need it.
Big brain
And there's
plays.
no need in holding on to it because you can only like
You can
accumulate
only hold
one.
one.
So, yeah.
Mhm.
So you might as well go ahead and use it.
So, speaking of medicine, John mentioned another type of medicine. It starts with a D. I don't remember what it was. We're gonna call it.
Diazepam, I think now.
I'm gonna call them.
About it.
I'm gonna call them anti-shaky pills. Which John was like, yeah, they're very helpful coming up, and that's when I lost my composure, Ryder. And you're like, what's wrong with him? So you get the sniper rifle. You go back to the boss fight, and Snake holds a sniper rifle like a child holding a flashlight. When you're like, hey, point at this thing for me, and he's just like,
Yeah.
and you like wheel
Like
it back,
me using
and
the
then
keyboard to aim.
yeah, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. And it took me like 2 or 3 tries. It wasn't hard. It was just frustrating because he would just like wildly whip side to side. I realize now, John, that those pills were to prevent that from happening. I just assumed it was some kind of like status effect or something that would hit me later that I would need to like recover from.
Yeah. So
This is another part of. Oh, sorry. You go ahead.
I was just gonna say this has come up in another video game that I've played before, Ark Survival Evolved. So your character is terrible at aiming, but if you make this item in the game, your character ends up being like dead shot accurate. And so I was reading that, I was like, here we go. We're gonna play Ark again.
Did you
See,
do that, Ryder?
I use the medicine and I listen during cutscenes, so I would know that whenever
on
you
a time
first encounter a
crunch.
sniper wolf, they say she's dead shot. She never misses. Blah blah blah. She uses diazepam to steady her shots. And I collected it early. I read the description, like it's anxiety medication. Blah blah blah. And so as soon as I went to that fight with her, I just popped one, and your shot steadies immediately. I mean, there's no like even slight bob. It just immediately goes flat.
And when you see
And
her
that's what
taking,
she's using.
and we see her taking pills later, that's like what she's taking. Wild.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just missed that line. I beat it without taking drugs. Kids, you don't
Don't do
have to
drugs.
take. Don't kids, you don't have to take performance enhancing drugs. But yeah, that fight was wild to me because I was like, what am I doing wrong? I literally, because I just laid down like against the wall as best as I could to obscure myself, but still see her. And it was infuriating every time I would be like, pull the trigger, and the snake would just go and whip the gun away. I don't know. I'm glad you guys didn't struggle as much as I did because it was awful.
It's just I love that so much. I mean, like it's frustrating, of course, if you don't use it. In the boss fight, it was still frustrating. I had some issues with, if I would get shot, my scope would go way off
Mm-hmm.
and it'd take way too long to recenter. So I just have to like
Might as well
stand up
unequip
or
it at
change
that point.
weapons. And
Yeah.
exactly, I was just usually equipping to my pistol, then re-equipping, and hoping she wouldn't shoot me in between.
You do know you
But
can quick unequip and quick equip, right?
how are you doing that?
If you press the R1,
R1.
R1, really? I didn't.
yeah,
Oh, I forgot
he'll
about that. Yeah,
pull out and put away just whatever the last item he had. It works the
that would have
same
been
on
nice.
L1 as well.
So yeah, I should have been doing that, but I wasn't. But it ended up working out. I beat her on like my second try or so.
Yeah.
But just really good game design. Them like mentioning that, and like you don't have to use it. Like it makes the fight easier, but you can play it without it, and like it makes sense. Snakes can be a little snaky, a little shaky
snaky.
because you're shooting at a pretty far distance. Maybe it's not like accustomed to sniper rifles, and then there's the dog peeing on the box. Now the other dogs aren't going to attack you. Then there's the fact that you can use cigarettes instead of the thermal vision to see the lines. Like there's so many different ways to approach this, and it started like way at the beginning, which it was even more simple than that. Just go left or go right, and it's so impressive. This game is very, very old at this point, and there's just a lot of attention to detail as far as these aren't even like major story events. Aren't going to affect anything the way you approach these levels or these obstacles, but there are options there, and you're not going to break yourself in. Or Psycho Mantis, you don't even have to use the player 2 port, which is what apparently this fight's famous for.
Yeah, it is. It's yeah, this game's very mechanically interesting. I think kind of ahead of its time in a lot of way because of that. But yeah, so you beat Sniper Wolf. Meryl's body's gone. You go try to find her, and just to make sure we're all on the same page, you guys kept playing for about another hour probably after this.
Yeah, it's not technically the end of the area yet, so
yeah, I kept going until I was literally in there. All right, so you kept going. You get stopped by some guards, and then Sniper Wolf, who is not dead, comes up with you, and I wrote down, Snake is misogynistic again, as Sniper Wolf promises him that she will kill him in a very over-sexualized way. So that happens, and then Snake gets like clocked in the back of the head, and he wakes up tied to a torture device, and we overhear Liquid Snake, Revolver Ocelot, and Sniper Wolf discussing various things. Before we talk about what they were saying, did you guys like look around when you were tied down? I thought that was a cool touch. I haven't played this game personally, but it's one of the two new Wolfenstein games where your character's like tied down and there's like some body gore torture happening, and they give you the option to like tilt the head and like look away or just like watch it. And that's just what that reminded me of. And I thought that was cool and innovative whenever it was in a game that came out in the last like 5 years. And this is a game that came out 23 years ago. And I was like, wow, okay. So that was neat. But yeah, what they talk about is just hit the highlights. Liquid Snake says that Solid Snake, quote, stole his birthright, and refers to the two of them as brothers, the, quote, sons of Big Boss. John, what do you make of that?
I don't know. I have no idea. It's kind of hard for me to watch the cutscenes due to my video issues. I try my best, so I do have to skip some of them, and I have to go watch them later.
Yeah.
But I listen to them for the most part, and I'm just kind of just agreeing with them. Yeah, I'm like, yeah, sure, yeah, we're brothers, sure. Yeah, I'll kill you later, but thanks for keeping me alive for now. Thanks, bro.
Right.
Just my philosophy on these right now.
Well, I'm not going to say anything because I unfortunately think I know what happens. And just in case I'm right, I'm not going to say anything. And Ryder, you probably know because no, you don't.
I would say I can't really.
Yeah, because you played the more of the series. Let's see. They reveal that the reason they want the remains of Big Boss, which is the whole reason this terrorist attack is happening, is they want those remains, is because they want to use his DNA to cure the genome soldiers. Is that what you guys got? Yeah. So something's going on there. All these soldiers, like Snake and presumably all the members of Foxhound, have been experimented on, but something's going wrong, and so they need Big Boss's DNA to fix that.
And they also need Snake's DNA as well. They did not specify why,
Mhm.
but they did mention that they needed Snake's DNA, and that's why they couldn't
Yeah.
kill him yet.
Yeah, I knew they were taking it, but I didn't really know what for. So,
Mhm.
Liquid says that they're going to launch the nuke in 10 hours because the United States government refuses to negotiate. Seems like a long deadline to be like, I've had enough. 10 hours from now is when we're finally going to do the thing.
It's nuclear apocalypse.
That's,
So.
I guess, when you put it that way. Then they talk about how they're surprised about like Gray Fox being there, like don't know what's going on there. They say that Meryl's alive, and they say that Decoy Octopus is dead. We'll get back to that because I want to theory craft for a second after we finish this. But I know we've been going kind of long, and I don't want to keep you guys forever and ever. But Ocelot begins torturing Snake with electric shocks. You play a mash the button mini game. Did you guys succeed on your first try on that? Because I didn't.
No,
No.
but fortunately I had some saves to go back to, so because there's no option to continue.
Yeah, there you die and it's over.
I, on my first try, got to the 4th time.
Same.
And then I submitted.
I got to the 3rd, and
Did either of you submit?
But he says that if you submit, then he'll kill Meryl. You heartless.
So let me. I forgot that he said that. But as soon as I hit submit, I remembered that he said that. But going back to what I said earlier, I'm a believer that when I make my decision, I make my decision. If I'm playing a game the first time, if I'm going for a certain outcome, then I'll replay certain scenes, conversations, whatever.
Right.
But I was going first time as blind as possible, and I made my decision. And I'm not upset because I wasn't going to redo that game. I did not want to redo that game because it's awful. And this is like the light version of the exact same mini game that's in a future game in the series. I won't tell you which game, but it's like a 4th is hard.
Yeah, I remember at one point we were talking about one of the Metal Gear games, and you were like, "Yeah," and this happened, and I was like, "That's exactly what this mini game is." Did they reuse this terrible mini game again?
It's worse, and that's why I like immediately had like PTSD, like Vietnam flashbacks. And I got to the 4th one, and I was like, "Wow!" I think in future game I got to like the 2nd and then died. So I'm gonna take that as a win. I'm sorry, but I am wimping out. And
I'm glad to hear it.
Submitted.
Actually,
which is interesting because we're gonna have different.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I'm glad to hear it because we're going to have different,
I see.
results. I would say.
I didn't.
I'm sure it has an effect.
I died on the first time on the 4th part of the mini game, and when you get the game over screen, Liquid Snake is like, "Ocelot, you fool, you did it again," and then Ocelot just goes, "Sorry, boss." I'm just like, okay,
did I do that?
Yeah, basically. And then I have to watch like 30 minutes of cutscenes again. I mean, I skipped through them, but you have to skip through each one individually.
It's still annoying.
I beat it, and then after you beat it the first time, they throw you into a cell, and I presume there's a way to escape the cell quickly, but I did not. And so the guards came back, and they were like, "You want to play that mini game again?" And
no,
really?
It was no, it wasn't.
You do that, John?
You want to? It's not. Do you want to? It says time for round 2.
Yeah, they brought us back, and it's the exact same mini game. Like the dialogue, also it's like, "I'll remind you again," and then everything else is exactly like verbatim the first time. And I was like, So I got there for the second time, and I was like calling everybody. I was like, "I'm getting out of here now because I'm not gonna mash."
Before we jump forward,
Go
after this scene, so the first time I did that, he was like, "Yeah, press select to quit." He was like, "If you don't want it to torture anymore, just click select to quit." So I made it to the second one, and I had barely any bar left for the 3rd one, and I thought the 3rd one would be the end.
Yeah.
So I nearly died on the 3rd one. So I started clicking what I thought was select, but it turned out to be the other button.
Start.
Pause. Yeah, start. And yeah, my character died. And then I got to hear that wonderful story about you killed him or you killed one again. And then I got to do it again. And then I made it farther on that one. I almost made it to the end of the third one. And then I ended up submitting.
Mhm.
And then he's like, we're going to kill Meryl now. But don't worry, we'll take our time or something like that. And so I kept I saved over one of my other ones because you can have multiple saves on this game. And that's what I do with all now to be fair, that's what I do in all video games because I want to know about the other paths. So I will keep one when the paths diverge so I can see what the different outcome is. That way I don't have to play through the whole game again
Cheater.
just to see how it would be different.
Nah.
That might be cheating to some people, but I like to see the different stories. So go ahead and then I'll continue.
Sorry. I saved Meryl the first time. Well, the second time after I died. I didn't give in. I mashed that button so fast, and I just want the accolades that come with that. Anyway,
Good
John,
job.
Go ahead.
You get all the fake internet points. Okay, so I ended up having to swap back to my keyboard on my PlayStation 1.
Yeah.
And I was able to click it a lot better. I don't know what it is about that controller I was using, but it was not helping me
It's
at
too
all.
squishy. The PS4 buttons are too squishy.
And
It's pretty much exactly the same as the PS1 controller
Yeah.
that we would normally be playing on our PS1s. But the keyboard though has more of a bounce. I'm assuming you have like a lifted, key and
Yeah.
like it has springs in it, so it's gonna like go to the same height
Mhm.
versus the PlayStation controllers don't really have a spring in it,
Not at all.
So there's not as much of a bounce. So it's not helping you. You're having to do all the work with your fingers.
yeah. So and I would like to point out my PlayStation controller died while I was doing something during this. I don't even think it was a boss fight. I was going to bring this up earlier, but I was hiding from somebody and my controller died and they came and killed me. And that is the point at which I wanted to throw my controller, not during the crazy minigame torture, not during the boss that I had no idea how to beat, not the missile guiding it around. No, just one of the regular enemies and the controller died. And that's when I wanted to throw it. However, I don't know what it is about that controller specifically, but it was not giving me like I was clicking it pretty good, but it wasn't working very well. So I had to swap to my keyboard. I actually finished it was wireless, yeah.
That probably didn't help.
Oh, okay. So
I
that
mean,
could
I
have
don't
been
know,
it.
but probably.
That could have been it. I have no idea. But I swapped to the keyboard and then I didn't want to mess anything up. So I used the keyboard through the rest of the area, which was also mildly annoying. But so we're gonna move on to what happens after the torture, right?
Mhm.
So okay, well I'll let you do that, but I want to bring up another surprise little thing that can happen to you whenever you move forward. But it was the third time I did it that I made it through. It was the first time with the keyboard where I made it through no problem.
Mhm.
I think it was just something with my controller. And then you get in the cell, and then I'll let you take it away.
Yeah. So you get in the cell, and you can have different conversations with all the different characters. They say a lot of cool stuff. I'm not gonna get into that. But eventually, Otacon will show up if you hang out long enough, and he'll be like, "Yo, dude, brought you some ketchup, and check out this handkerchief that Sniper Wolf gave me because I like to feed her dogs." And it's like, "All right, thanks, dude." And my immediate thought was, "Huh, I could use this ketchup to make it look like blood and make the guard think I'm hurt, and he will come in here." At this point, the guard's gone to the bathroom, and then Otacon leaves, and I'm sitting there like mashing all the buttons I have to try to get the ketchup to work, and it doesn't work. And then Snake's like, "The guard's coming back," and I was like, and I just hid under the bed, and the guard shows back up, and it's just like, "Where'd he go?" And he runs inside. I just sneak out from under the bed and incapacitate him.
Yeah, so this is where I wanted to continue my story, but I wanted you to give that prelude to it. So after I get in the cell, I wait for the guard to round a corner where it'll show their vision on the map. So I decide to crawl under the bed like you did whenever I thought his vision wasn't on me the first time. And the guard just looks over and he's like, "What are you doing?" I'm just like, "Shut up."
Mhm.
Yeah.
I just stand there and I'm like, okay, well, something's obviously going to happen. And then it's like, all right, time for torture time number 2. And then I hated it just as much the second time. And so, like you had said, the guard ends up having an upset stomach and needs to go to the restroom. And then the guy we helped out earlier, I'm just gonna
Otacon.
call him. I'm just gonna call him Joseph. Yeah, and that was your joke, not mine.
How dare you, John? How dare you say that
Otacon.
about our good friend?
I never made this joke.
Hey,
All
John,
right.
put up a picture
Anyway.
of the two of them side by side, just for like a second.
All right.
I have a picture of him with glasses on. I'll try and find it.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll make sure he says that's okay. John, go.
All right. So Otacon comes in, gives you some ketchup, gives you a handkerchief. I'm like, I'm gonna try hiding under the bed again. Keep in mind, I'm using my keyboard for the rest of this. So I crawl out from under the bed when the guard's in the room. He looks at me and I press the button to get up, but my character's like, nope, don't understand this command. So the guard actually leaves the room before I can get up off the floor, and he locks me in there again. And guess who gets to go to round 3 of torture time?
Oh no, I'm so
And
sorry that happened.
I died the 3rd time. And so I had to redo torture time number 1 and number 2 because I never made a save in the room.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got to go out. So I got lots of torture just for fun. So I got a lot of practice with that mini game.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah. So, but other than that, it was smooth sailing. So go ahead.
All right. So I know.
I
Go ahead.
I would say, so
Ryder's
this
got
is
to
where
talk too.
we're going to start dividing. So I don't know if you guys want me to. My stories will look different from here. I don't know if you
Go for
guys
it.
want me to go
Go for
ahead.
it, yeah.
So
No,
I'm
no.
not
I
gonna
mean,
know
just,
otherwise.
yeah,
I'm not
it's going to
pushing
spoil
this
some
twice.
stuff, probably, but we're going to do it anyway because this is what's happening. So mine ended up pretty much exactly the same. Assuming you submit, what happens is Revolver Ocelot walks away, and it's not a spoiler because you guys aren't going to see it.
exactly.
They
Go
actually
ahead.
kill Meryl.
Wow.
So like she's dead.
You're a terrible person.
And you don't see it, but you have. I probably had. I'm going to guess probably like 30 or 40 minutes of cutscene and codec conversation between the characters over what's happened. And I did look this up because I was curious whether or not this is canon or not. Which one? I'm not going to tell you which one is canon, whether she lives or dies at this point. But I was curious, and I think that this is a really interesting way to play it. And I went and looked up to see what, if I had let her live, if I'd kept on fighting, what would have happened. And I think this is honestly maybe the better outcome as far as character development wise, because it's extremely interesting because Snake he's so upset over this and so just distraught and like, yeah, he's obviously attracted to Meryl and thinks she's cool, whatever. But you're also seeing the side of him that he typically represses. He's like, oh, I'm a cold, heartless killer. But actually, he cares for his comrades, and he calls her a combat buddy.
Yeah.
And he didn't know her for very long, but the idea is you build friendships over shared trauma, specifically, over the battlefield. And even though he didn't know her very long, her dying has taken a huge toll on him. And you end up getting a lot of backstory on him, who he is, the way he's kind of sees the world, views his current position.
Yeah.
You also get parts with Colonel and other characters that previously you wouldn't have gotten, and I don't think you guys are going to get it all. So that's really interesting that I got it. Rest in peace, Meryl. Sucks that you're dead. But it's also interesting that the game allows you to diverge. I didn't think it was actually going to happen. I thought, oh, I'm going to go torture her, but you'll be able to come save her. But then, no, she's dead, and that's the end of it. But so because I submitted, I actually don't have to go back be tortured again. So after that initial torture, the guard just does rounds. Same thing, Otacon, Hal, whatever you want to call him, brings ketchup, whatnot. I actually hid underneath the bed, and the guard was like, what, no, what happened? And I crawled out, and he shot me on the floor. He didn't kill me. He just shot me once and then walked away. But he shot me and the ketchup bottle exploded underneath me. So
That's
it
how you
looked like
do
I
it.
was dead. But I don't know exactly how this next part was supposed to play out. But he keeps on. I don't know if you guys got to see this part, but he was running to the bathroom, like clenching his cheeks, having to use the bathroom. Well, he runs to the bathroom at one point, and I just lay there on top of my ketchup pile. I'm like, well, maybe he'll be stupid and forget and think I'm dead. And as he was coming back, my gate just malfunctioned and slides open. And I was like, okay, that's weird. And then there's a slight stutter, and I see our friend Cyborg Ninja
Gray Fox.
just open my cell.
Really?
Gray
Wow.
Fox, Cyborg
That's
Ninja.
really interesting.
But and then disappears.
Yeah.
And that's it. And then I have another cutscene. So I don't know if you guys got that at all. It doesn't sound like you did. I don't know if I might have had the option to incapacitate the guard, or maybe I sat in the cell too long and then Gray Fox, Cyborg Ninja showed up.
Yeah, that's just like a fail safe just in case they never figure it out, like the player doesn't figure it out.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Or maybe because I let Meryl die, I'm seeing a different turn of events. So I really don't know where that division happens, but that's who actually ended up getting me out of my cell.
Huh.
Well,
and there's a cool cutscene.
Maybe
I'm sorry about him losing his mind. Or go ahead.
I was just saying maybe.
Oh, but did you? Sorry, just kidding. Go ahead, John. I promise.
Hi. The third torture time after that might be when Gray Fox decides to show up for us. Because I would have had a third one, but I didn't survive it. So since me breaking out of the cell failed, maybe he would have came and helped us out.
Maybe so.
I was in there for probably 10, 15 minutes just because I had to keep on waiting for him to go do his loop.
Yeah.
And like what it was is I'd crawl underneath the bed, but then get impatient and like crawl back out, and he would see me. So I wasn't waiting long enough. And so I think, I'm not sure if I was in the room too long, or if again, me letting Meryl die has created a new timeline.
Yeah, maybe so. That'd be interesting. We've been going a very long time. I'm gonna speed through the last like couple things that happened, and then force you guys to listen to at least two of my theories. Okay, here we go. So if you call Campbell during while you're stuck in the cell, he talks about, or Snake like accuses him of knowing about the Metal Gear project ahead of time, and he's like, yeah, you're right, I did. I'm sorry. It was a secret. We were trying to keep like nuclear peace, but we also wanted to be ready. We didn't know it was going to fall in the hands of the wrong people. So that was kind of cool. And then you also get some like backstory on Naomi if you listen long enough. And then once you escape,
I actually think,
go ahead.
I had that same moment, but I might be wrong, but I think because I let Meryl die, Colonel Campbell's actually a little apprehensive. And he doesn't divulge that information. Where you're
really?
Like, did you know? And he's like, and so I think there's like maybe some guilt there. And I might be misremembering this, but I'm pretty sure he like doesn't answer. And you're like, I knew it. I knew it.
He doesn't answer right away, but the Snake's like, I knew it. And then Campbell's like, okay, but here's why I had to do it. So I don't know if that was different.
I don't think I got that on my end.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Which is interesting.
It was talks about like nuclear peace between like Russia and whatnot. Side note, apparently Ocelot's Russian, and he's doing this to bring glory to Russia. Didn't know that, but that's what he says after the second round of torturing. Excuse me.
I didn't get that.
Yeah, that's what he says. And then you head back to the communications tower after you get your stuff. You get a call from Deep Throat, and he's like, Snake, there's a bomb in your pockets. And Snake's like, oh, my bad. And he just chunks it.
Oh, I didn't get that call.
either.
Neither of you got that? How did neither?
I can tell you why I didn't get it.
Did you not grab your stuff?
No, I grabbed my stuff. I was cycling through to go to my rations to check my health. I think my health was low. I was gonna get a ration and eat it because I was on top of another ration, I think. And I was like, what is this? 176. And then I looked, it was a bomb. I was like, well, I don't want this. It says of unknown origin, equip it, and it gives you the button to press to get rid of it, I think.
Yeah, it does.
So I was in the elevator. So I wasn't on top of a ration, but I was gonna use the ration. And I threw it out of the elevator and it exploded. And
Mhm.
then that alerted all the guards to where I was. So I just hid in the elevator and waited for it to go away. But I just thought it was very funny that that there was just a random bomb in my pocket that I didn't notice until I tried to take a ration.
Yeah, Snake's like, after you throw the bomb away, Snake's like, Ocelot, you'll pay for this. So I guess since you were a coward and submitted to Ocelot, he didn't like want to get you with the bomb. So I guess that's why he didn't get that.
He told me he was
Yeah.
going to let me live. So
I
At least
got
he's a man of his word.
I got all the way to like back through the cave. I was like at the end of the cave, and I get a call while I'm like crawling in my belly. And it's like, there's a bomb in your pocket. And Snake's like, oh, okay. But yeah. And then you make it, there's a recap of the cutscene of Meryl getting shot a bunch, which Snake, has to deal with. And then we enter the communications tower, which is where we'll start next time. But before I let you guys go, 2 theories. I'm going to limit. Oh, yes, Ryder.
so this moment you guys didn't get. So I will tell you at the end of our last session, if it's not explained.
Okay.
Kind
Sure.
of something that we brought up earlier, but you guys didn't get to see it. So I'm going to wait, see if maybe it's explained for you. If not,
Okay.
then I'll tell you what I saw on my end.
All right.
The episodes from now.
Make a note because I want to know what you're going to say. All right. My 2 things, Decoy Octopus. I have 2 theories for him. One, he was the DARPA chief that we talked to at the beginning of the game that like died of that heart attack. And then the actual DARPA chief was the guy that we saw Ocelot kill in that flashback cutscene, who's rotting in the cell. Because they talk about how his body's like way too decomposed to have been dead for like a couple hours.
I meant to bring that up.
And then in the scene with Liquid Snake talking to Ocelot, Liquid Snake says we need to figure out what happened to Decoy Octopus and Baker. And so Baker and the DARPA chief were the 2 that died of like the random heart attack type things. But if that wasn't actually the DARPA chief, and the DARPA chief's actual body or actually was killed by Ocelot and he's in the cell, so maybe that was Decoy Octopus. But
that makes sense, Kurt, because remember last time he said that Psycho Mantis got the information from him, but then the second guy that we help out, he says that they've been trained not to be mind controlled by Psycho Mantis. So
yeah,
your theory works out a lot.
And his name is Decoy.
Right. So I'm assuming he can like take on the appearance. Yeah. And so, and it's him telling, it's like, well, why would he tell Snake all the things Snake needs to know? And it's like, well, we've already seen like the Vulcan Raven fight, and that like the Foxhound members are messing with Snake, trying to get him to continue his mission for some means. But then the question becomes like, well, why did he die? And why did Baker die? Is this like a third? Is it a spoiler? Are you just smart? Okay.
I just figured it out.
Go for it.
Remember when we die in the torture chamber, he says, you did it again?
Yeah.
He could have tortured the other guy. That's why he died. And they just threw him back in the cell.
No, that is why that guy died. I'm talking about whenever Snake is talking to the like Baker, and Baker has like the heart attack thing.
Yeah.
Like they don't know why that happens.
Okay.
And we don't know. So maybe it's another third-party agent like Gray Fox who's also there messing things up because the story is just too simple and we need someone else. I don't know, but it's interesting. All right, my second theory that has much less weight behind it is I think Naomi is a villain.
I could see it.
Why is that?
Because more than any of the other, all the characters are hiding something, but usually when they hide something, eventually they're like, Snake, I'm sorry I lied to you. Here's why I had to lie to you. But with Naomi, she does reveal things about herself, but she also has like changed her story a couple times. Like she was talking about her family. She was like, I don't have any family. And then later she was like, yeah, my grandfather like did these things. And then people were like, I thought you said you didn't have a grandfather. And she's like, oh, I didn't find out about him until after he died. And then I like did research about him. So that's how I know these things. I don't know. She's sketchy. And then the biggest piece of evidence is that she has a British accent, and Liquid Snake also has a British accent. So that's my evidence.
So you bringing that up now makes me extremely conflicted because that is part of the cutscene that I saw But I don't know the depth of the conversation. So I don't know if they said it and you guys just missed it. But as big of a revelation as this is, I would think that you guys would remember it.
Well, I
It's
would tell
literally in
you I
that
haven't
same
watched all these
conversation with
cutscenes just
Naomi.
yet.
I mean, if it's in the same conversation about our grandfather, we probably did hear it, and we just don't know what you're referring to specifically.
But I mean,
That was a long conversation.
he talks about the shared trauma. And this is why I don't want to say it because I don't think it was brought up or you guys just don't remember. And if you don't remember, I'd prefer to wait till later.
Okay,
But
we can wait till later.
that is part of that conversation. So I'm interested to see where it goes because I really like that it's split and that it's allowing us to see different paths, different, options, but that also makes it harder to discuss because I don't want to spoil things that haven't came up that might come up, like the Meryl thing. She's dead on my game. That's whatever. But
yeah. Well, on the final episode, we'll just have like spoilers for the whole game if we were worried about spoiling beforehand, and it'll be fine. But unless you guys have anything else to say, all right.
No.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode of Backlog Crew. I've been Kurt. That's Ryder. That's John. And hope you guys all have a great day. Thanks for watching.